Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Midlands Today as we welcome the Queen and Prince Philip to the region on their Diamond Jubilee tour. Well, we're here in the Cathedral, right in the heart of the city of Worcester, which today has played host to Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh, who've been in both Herefordshire and Worcestershire. Well, the royal couple arrived in Hereford this morning to be greeted by hundreds of school children. And with our first report tonight, here's Sarah Falkland.
Hereford Station at 10 o'clock. The royal train had safely delivered its principal passenger. Within minutes, the first of endless bouquets, and then a sea of red, white and blue as the royal party sped towards the city's 12th century cathedral. This is the Queen's sixth visit to Hereford. The first was as a young mother back in 1957, then in 1976 and again in 1987.
She had a white hat and her hair was grey. It was beautiful. She was really pretty.
Really pretty?
She was all in pink.
Did she wave at you?
No.
After unveiling a plaque to mark the restoration of the cathedral close, it was over to the St George's playing fields for a reminder of an earlier highlight of her Diamond Jubilee celebrations. The Herefordshire Trow, one of 1,000 small vessels that sailed in the Thames pageant. For 7-year-old Talia from Kington, a moment she would remember all her life.
I was really excited, and when she came, I gave her the posy and they were pink and she said it matches my outfit.
Lynn Barker from the Bromyard Folk Festival wasn't going to miss her chance for a chat.
I said, I gather you enjoy Ceilidh dancing, ma'am? And she said, yes, I do. And then Jan, the mayor, said, and Lynn does Appalachian step dancing. Have you heard of it? And she said, no, I haven't heard of it. So I said, well, it's what keeps you fit in your 60s, ma'am. And she was very amused.
And then baby pheasants caught the royal eye. You had a conversation with the Queen. How does that feel?
I feel very good. I haven't really recovered from it yet. I'm still in a bit of shock, you know, that I should be able to meet her. She's a wonderful lady and I have a lot of respect and tremendous, I'm in awe of the things that she does.
The Queen's nearing the end of her Diamond Jubilee tour of the UK. A palace insider says she was delighted and amazed by the welcome she received here. Her Majesty always likes to take a few of her poses home, he said, but the rest will be distributed to local hospitals and hospices. 20,000 people came here today to catch a glimpse of the Queen, and for some of them it was just that, just a fleeting glimpse of her hat. Her visit, a short 1 hour, 15 minutes, but one that will be remembered long in the hearts of the people of Herefordshire. Sarah Falkland, BBC Midlands Today in Hereford.
Well, after the fantastic reception there in Hereford, the Queen and Prince Philip were whisked by helicopter the 27 miles here to Worcester, where thousands more were ready to meet them. And our special correspondent, Peter Wilson, reports.
The crowds were keeping watch from the rooftops, the people of Worcester taking every vantage point. And the Queen's first port to call was the magnificent, and sometimes controversial, Golden Library, the Hive. Those that greeted the Queen, young and old, were taken aback by the occasion.
The smile on her face was calming, the way she came down, it made us all really calm.
She looks really pretty today.
Absolutely wonderful.
What did she say when you gave them to her?
She said thank you.
Inside the Hive, the Queen officially opened the new £60 million building, Europe's first joint public and university library.
She went into the children's library and she met some of the young poet laureates, Rowan, which was lovely, and then she saw some children doing some activities within the children's library. She then met the artists we've had some work commissioned for the building especially, so she met all the artists who've commissioned work.
Worcester's excitement over the Diamond Jubilee celebrations filled the streets to overflowing. Last-minute preparations continued right up to the moment that the royal couple arrived at the Guildhall. After such a busy, frantic day, the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh are having a brief moment to themselves, enjoying lunch here at the Assembly Rooms at the Guildhall. It's where King George III ate, and he described it as a handsome place. Today, they're having free-range chicken and new potatoes. Outside, some people were dressed as themselves, while the Women's Institute organised a 1950s-style tea party.
So we've all dressed up to look the part for the original coronation in the 50s. So we've gone for full skirt petticoat dresses, and it fits in nicely with the tea party theme.
Despite early showers, there was only sunshine and smiles during the Queen's walkabout, and the Duke of Edinburgh looked in fine health.
I just thought it was lovely that he actually came up and spoke. It was worth standing from 8 o'clock this morning.
And it made it all worthwhile getting to chat to him a little bit. It was brilliant.
There was a small group of protesters, but today was a chance for the very young to get up close to Her Majesty the Queen. Peter Wilson, BBC Midlands Today in Worcester.
So a very special day for both Herefordshire and Worcestershire. I'm joined now by the Mayor from each city. If I can turn to the Mayor of Hereford first, Councillor Brian Wilcox. So, Mayor, what will you take away from today? What are the special memories?
It was a fantastic day, seeing the Queen and the Duke arrive in the Royal train on a steam engine, and the reception they received from the thousands of people that lined the route. I'll remember that. And then when they got to the playing fields, and they had a marvellous reception from the crowds there, with a 1,000-strong children choir singing to them, and then a whole variety showing Herefordshire showcase from all the market towns and the countryside, as well as the city, as to what Herefordshire had got to offer.
And you also spent some time with Duke of Edinburgh, didn't you?
I did. I was with him for over 5 minutes, and he was very alert, he was well, and he showed a great interest, whether it was, he even alluded to this badge, the SAS regiment, which was donated to us, and he asked a lot of interesting questions and wanted to know good answers. So he was brilliant.
Excellent. And of course, Her Majesty spent some time in Worcester as well. Councillor Roger Berry, what was the highlight for you? I mean, I presume the lunch, because you had lunch with Her Majesty.
I was responsible for entertaining the Queen for lunch, so it really was probably the high spot. It was a good, obviously, opportunity for me to talk to her informally, and also I proposed the loyal toast.
So a very memorable day for you. Also were on the same route as Her Majesty, so you've got a royal eye view, if you like.
Yes, I was able to trace the route from the Hive to the Guildhall, and you really saw the fantastic turnout from Worcester citizens. The streets were lined with children and visitors, and it was a really, truly memorable experience.
And she met a lot of people involved in charity work and people that really make the city and the whole of County Worcestershire tick.
Yes, she was fortunate. She met over 100 specially invited people from local voluntary organisations, so she really had a good meeting with a wide cross-section of Worcestershire's population.
Councillor Roger Berry, Councillor Brian Wilcox, many thanks indeed. Memories to treasure, I'm sure. Well, I'll be back a little later in the programme when we'll have a sneak preview of a gift that the Queen will be receiving in Birmingham tomorrow. But for now, it's back to the studio and Dan Pallett. Dan. Now, returning to the Diamond Jubilee tour, and tomorrow the spotlight turns to RAF Cosford in Shropshire, where 35,000 people will greet the Queen. Her Majesty will also be in Birmingham, where she'll stage a city centre walkabout and officially open the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. She'll also be presented with a silver bowl created in the city's world-famous jewellery quarter. And Martin Lowe is there for us now. Martin.
Well, Mary, here it is, resplendent in a blue display case, ready for presentation to the Queen tomorrow. It's solid silver and of exceptional quality. It's probably best described as looking like a shallow fruit bowl, but more importantly, it's a gift fit for a Queen.
All that glisters is not gold. In this case, it's solid silver. Today getting a final polish at the workshop in Birmingham, where it's been created. Then a dip in a degreasing vat to make sure that any smudge or finger mark is removed before it's placed in its case, ready to be presented to Her Majesty.
The item itself is produced from fine silver, which means it is 99.9% pure silver. And this has a particular shine to it. It's the brightest, and silver is the brightest of all metals, and it's a pleasure to work with, lovely to work with, and I think the end result speaks for itself. It's lovely.
Silver is often bought in 1 kilogram blocks known as investment bars. The idea here was to craft an investment bowl, more pleasing to look at, but still exactly 1 kilogram in weight.
We start with a circle of silver, fine silver, which is 3 millimeters thick in this case, and it is put onto a spinning lathe, and it is spun by hand on a special lathe. and then it is assayed at the assay office, and then when it comes back from there we can start the finishing process, which is polishing, burnishing and with the sateen.
It's rare to see a piece of this quality, not just because of cost, but because silver of this purity is extremely soft and wouldn't stand up to everyday use. But ideal as part of the Queen's personal collection.
Well, the bowl was commissioned by Birmingham Assay Office, which authenticates and hallmarks precious metals made here in Birmingham. Michael Orchin is the assay master. And Michael, how closely does this fit the requirements of the commission that you made?
I think perfectly. A few months ago, when we heard that the Queen was going to be visiting Birmingham, we thought it'd be nice to actually commission something that would be appropriate for Her Majesty. We wanted something that was beautifully made and beautifully designed and beautifully finished by a master craftsman. I know you've seen the work that Andy does already, and I think it absolutely fulfills exactly what we wanted it to do.
Clearly this is something that was made here in Birmingham's famous jewellery quarter. How appropriate is that as somewhere where something like this would be made?
Well, we think it's entirely appropriate. Obviously the Birmingham Assay is based in Birmingham. We have this fantastic jewellery quarter that's been here for several hundred years. We have master craftsmen here, jewellers and silversmiths, and it was entirely appropriate that a gift coming from the Birmingham Assay Office and the Birmingham City itself to give to the Queen should be made and designed here in the Birmingham jewellery quarter.
And some special hallmarks on the bowl itself?
Yes, there's a commemorative hallmark for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, which is this special mark in the centre here. And then, of course, we have the famous anchor mark, which is the town mark for Birmingham, for the Birmingham Assay Office.
And a very, very good sheen to the finished product.
Well, Andy's a master craftsman. It's beautifully finished. You've got the contrast between the matte finish around the outside of the bowl and the polished centre. Believe me, that's not easy. And yes, I think it's absolutely fabulous.
But a gorgeous piece all ready for presentation to the Queen during her visit to Birmingham tomorrow.
We will leave you tonight with some of the sights and sounds that have greeted the Queen on her visit to Hereford and Worcester. You'll also find more pictures on the Midlands Today Facebook page, and I'll be live at RAF Cosford tomorrow evening. I hope you can join us then. She'll also be in Birmingham, of course. From all of us at Midlands Today, bye-bye. Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Midlands Today as we welcome the Queen and Prince Philip to the region on their Diamond Jubilee tour. Well, we're here in the Cathedral, right in the heart of the city of Worcester, which today has played host to Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh, who've been in both Herefordshire and Worcestershire. Well, the royal couple arrived in Hereford this morning.
For the posy, and they were pink, and she said it matches my outfit.
Lynn Barker from the Bromyard Folk Festival wasn't going to miss her chance for a chat.
I said, I gather you enjoy Kaylee dancing, ma'am? And she said, yes, I do. And then Jan, the mayor, said, and Lynn does Appalachian step dance.
Morning to be greeted by hundreds of school children. And with our first report tonight, here's Sarah Falkland.
Hereford Station at 10 o'clock. The royal train had safely delivered its principal passenger. Within minutes, the first of endless bouquets and then a sea of red, white and blue as the royal party sped towards the city's 12th century cathedral. This is the Queen's 6th visit to Hereford. The first was as a young mother back in 1957, then in 1976 and again in 1987.
She had a white hat and her hair was grey. It was beautiful. She was really pretty.
Really pretty?
It was all in pink.
Did she wave at you?
No.
After unveiling a plaque to mark the restoration of the cathedral close, it was over to the St George's playing fields for a reminder of an earlier highlight of her Diamond Jubilee celebrations. The Herefordshire Trow, one of 1,000 small vessels that sailed in the Thames pageant. For 7-year-old Talia from Kington, a moment she would remember all her life.
I was really excited, and when she came, I gave